Hey, everybody. We on? Hey, good morning. Good morning. Time's 8:19. 8:19 on Monday morning. Woohoo! Me and Zazoo, Leslie Billito Plaza here, and my alter ego and dog. It is February 24th, 2025. Deep breath. I made it. Yeah. Squeaky went. Oh, I'm not supposed to call him that. I call my upstairs neighbor Squeaky. I guess I forgot not to call him that. Hope he doesn't watch my videos. Anyway, you went off to work like a good boy this morning, Gen Z. And so now I can talk as loud as I want. Woo! I heard the door slammed about 6:30 in the morning. I go, who, that's not me. Anyway, yeah, it's a little warmer this week. It's supposed to be a little warmer this week here in Connecticut, but it's still cold. I'll still get a chance to wear my new winter coat that I bought myself. It's kind of like a nice teal color. See, the thing is, kids, go. It's a $245 coat, I found out, that I got at Job Lot near me down the street for 40 bucks. And it's beautiful. It's got all kinds of snappy little pockets and it's got a nice fur hood, that you can take off. So I could easily wear it into March. Usually we'll get a thaw and then we'll get hammered again with a couple more snowstorms. So I'll get to wear it. Usually, and even April, it's chilly. It's not winter coat chilly, but people in New England, you need long sleeves here through, and usually a rain jacket through April. But yeah, we're still in winter, so. But it's a good time to get the winter coats and stuff, because a lot of places are marking them down, trying to get rid of stuff. So that's my consumer tip for the day. So, yeah, but it's weird. Well, first of all, as a lifelong Catholic, I've been hearing that Pope Francis has not been feeling well. So of course, lots of healing energy and prayers. I always say, under grace, when I pray for people who are sick, because it's God's, God is in charge here. But yeah, you can always send healing energy under grace, and the violet flame. From what I have heard, it's a good way to send healing energy to people. So yeah, my our son's going to Italy this spring. He's going to go to the Vatican. He said he had tickets to go somewhere to some event at the Vatican. I guess it's like an art gallery or something. I think because his girlfriend, she's in Italy now. She's an art student at Yale. So she has to spend like a semester over there. So she's in Italy now, and he's going to fly out, you know, toward in the spring to see her. So that'll be nice. So yeah, that was the other thing, and uh, you know, just I I meet interesting people. Not always the kind of people that. And I wonder, why is it just me? And when I run into these people, I wonder, does anybody else notice them, or is it just me? Do they appear just for my benefit? Because throughout my life, I've run into people, and either by myself or with my former spouse. He and I have run into people, and then later, we mention them to other people, and they're like, no, there's no such person, as and sometimes you wonder if they're just angels appearing for your benefit. So that's a kind of weird thing. There's some guy Um, older millennial, right? No, probably just well, he said he was a kid in 1995, so he's probably a millennial. Some guy. I was in the laundry room, always Saturday. I always do my laundry. Either sometimes it's very early in the morning, or this week I did it in the evening. But lately, since it's been winter, 3 weeks now in a row, the guy, he's in there. First day he was in there on his phone, and he's like, "Well, when does the rental office open?" I'm like, "Well, usually 8 or 9." And he's on his phone. He's just some dude. I'm like, and he starts talking to me and telling me about how he's from Chicago and how he's down in his luck and he's working food service and he's married, but he said they're looking for a place. Fine. So I saw him that first day and I said, "Oh, they're opening a new coffee shop down the street, whatever, they might be looking for people." He's like, "Yeah, I don't do coffee, so whatever." I go take my laundry, I go on with my life. The second week, no, I didn't see him in the laundry. So he says, "Oh, I'm living with my friend who lives here." I said, "Oh, did you rent an apartment?" He's like, "Nah, things aren't going so great. I'm living with a friend." And now it's I, not him and his wife, but I. And then and then so I see him. He's going down. He's like, "Oh, I gotta go for a walk, and I'm gonna go get warm." So he goes in the laundry room to get warm. It's creeping me out. Like, okay. And I'm like, well, maybe this week he got things together. Maybe he won't show up. So I did the whole laundry. I'm like, yes, I didn't see him because he's starting to kind of creep me out a little bit. He's kind of stalking me. And I saw him standing out, like waiting to see where I was going to go. So I waited until he went on his walk down in the laundry room. I went on my way. Third week, I said, "Oh yeah, I didn't run into the guy because he's starting to kind of grate on my nerves a little. I said, "Oh, I made it through all my laundry." Guess who I see coming 11 o'clock at night? He's coming toward me in the dark. "How you doing?" I said, I get this weird, like, one of those deja vu feelings, when there's some annoying person that you just, "Oh, if I can just get through the day without seeing this person, yes." And then you see them and it's like, "Oh, damn, damn." Like, it sucks. It sucks. But then I remind myself, to be compassionate because you don't know. I mean, you know, I'm always kind and I don't get upset because I've learned, that sometimes you can't tell by looking at people what their story, what's his story, and I usually am guarded at first, but he just seemed to brighten up every time he saw me. He's like, "Oh, hi," because the first time I saw him, I said, "Gee, it's tough to be, without a home especially in the winter, and I could feel for that. I could have compassion, you know. I could tell that he'd kind of been there, he's a little unkempt and little you know, I could tell that he probably slept in his car and stuff like that. And I since I was a kid, um, I've always felt sorry for people and tried to help people whenever I could. Whether it was to give food or invite somebody over for a meal or you know give some clothes or do whatever I could. My parents raised me that way. And I don't know if it's Gen X thing, but I've always tried to be generous. But you never know. I mean, and then you have to be careful too, because some people can take advantage of that. So when you're, you know, big-hearted person, you kind of have to stay your distance a little. So there's that line that we walk. But you know, I feel that whenever I've been generous with what I've had, it comes back to me in other ways, and God protects me. And you never know if it's an angel in disguise. So that's a theme in my book. There's a story or two about that, and that's going to show up again because I think for the most part we don't have it. if we're generous, we don't have to worry about how we're going to survive. I think if you just give when you're able to, you'll be taken care of. And that's a lesson. It's hard to talk to people about because some people I've known, they're like, oh yeah, but you have to go and you have to, yeah, that's, you have to go and make it happen and you have to. Not always. I personally have found that the harder I've worked at things, the more tired I get, and that doesn't always guarantee that I've, you know, um, gotten back. And then you're like, oh, I busted my butt, and I didn't get back from that thing. Well, you can't think that way. This is what the readings are about today. You can't always think that way because you could be getting blessings back in some other way. You know what I mean? Or if someone wrongs you, right? It's on them. So the whole turn the other cheek thing is coming up today. And I've thought about this, because some people I think take the Bible, they read it, they take it in the wrong way, you know. And Jesus was not trying to complicate things. He was trying to tell people how the universe works, right? So, and it still does today. The universe still works the same way as it did 2,000 years ago. Anyway, first book of Samuel. Okay, I talked about this guy. Okay. Yeah, so first book of Samuel in the Old Testament. There's, Saul went looking for David in the desert with 3,000 men in Ziph. It sounds like peanut butter. Ziph. That's Jeff. Palestine, modern Palestine village of Ziph, Z-I-F, near Hebron in the desert, basically in the desert. It was Z-I-P-H in the Bible. Interesting. So Saul was the enemy of David, right? And he had this big army and everything. And, David was just his, little David and, a couple little, David and Goliath. Obviously, he's outnumbered, but he's sneaky. So Saul and his big army and everything, at night, God put them asleep. Saul and his army, and David and his buddy Abishai snuck in, and they found Saul sleeping with his water jug and his spear by his head. So David's friend Abishai said, "Oh, you got him! You want me to you know, want me to get him put his spear?" I said, no. He said, who can lay hands on God's anointed and be unpunished, right? So there's karma. There's the rule of karma, right? He wasn't going to do, the same thing. That maybe Saul would have done that to him, but David was not. David knew that God would even protect, his enemy, right? No matter what he had done, he was still a child of God, right? Saul. So David so this is what he did. He was sneaky. He took the water jug and the spear and he went over far away on a remote hilltop. Hey, I got it. Send over one of your, men and pick it up, that claimed victory, right? But he did it with God's help and he did it, with compassion. But he still won. He didn't need to kill Saul to win the war, right? He he did it through with God on his side. See? So then we have the Lord is kind and merciful, slow to anger, kind and compassionate. Right? So we're called to, like Jesus said, his new commandment, to love one another as I have loved you, if God has loved us. So we're all God's children. And God doesn't look at us. See, this is where, as a Catholic, I would scratch my head because the Catholic faith had all of us, beaten down, thinking that we are sinners. You're a sinner. No, we are children of God. We are spirits on earth in human bodies who have, sometimes we've made mistakes. But those mistakes are not us. God puts them far away, right? Just like David, he went far away. God puts them over here. God sees us as, not as our sins, but as our our highest selves, right? So sometimes when I go through and I tell I get ready to tell my stories in my books. I go onto just a blank notebook and I get it out. Everything. Say somebody did something to me, it really pissed me off. I go and I get it all out, all of my emotions, and then I channel from a higher place. I see the person, as God sees them, and I tell the story in a pure way. So I've gotten rid of all ugh, you know, the lower emotions that I've had. Yeah, this person did this to me, blah, blah, blah. And then I retell the story. I retell it and I change it. It's like I'm changing, my history. It's kind of like in Quantum Leap, where Sam goes back and he fixes history. He leaps into the past and he changes a couple of things to make things turn out better. Well, it's kind of like, in the way that time is fluid and not linear, you can do that. You can retell your own stories and see other people from a higher place. I don't know if it makes any sense, but that's my formula that I use in telling my stories. Nobody else can tell my stories. They could try, but they didn't live them. I lived them. So that's it. So this is very interesting. So it says, not according to our sins does God deal with us, nor requite us according to our crime. In other words, the way the universe works, source, you don't get dealt the same exact punishment as say, what you do to others. You know, um, it's kind of like, you know, or in the same way, you can't expect, that you're going to be, you'll get it back, but you might get it in a different way. According to, if you look in your astrological chart, you can see, your weakness, the things that you, the karma that, you're here with the nature of the karma. And karma is not always a good, bad thing. It's good and bad, right? In other words, what are the things that you're here to make right? That, either you did something to somebody else in a past life. Well, in this life, you're going to pay for it because the universe likes to even things out. It's all energy. That's all it is. It's not that complicated. So, First Corinthians. I only have so much time here. So let's see, Paul to the Corinthians letter. He talks about the first man, right, Adam, who was made from the earth. He talks about the second man. No mention of the blue man. That comes later. The blue man group. Never mind. If you don't know, you don't know. I've seen them in concert. Second man came from heaven, right? So that, in this case, he's talking about Jesus. And so if you could, in today's view, talk about 3D being the third dimension, earth, and the fifth dimension and above being, heavenly. So just if we, as we also, not only do we, bear the human form, but we also inherit the spiritual, right, together. So, now, we have to remember that we are spirit in the material world. Okay. Um, okay, that was the intermission. Yeah, so, I was thinking about this today. Don't get too preachy, Zazoo. Yeah, make it fun. Okay, what's the damn song of the day? Okay, get to it. Yeah, so Luke's Gospel. Get through it. All right. So it's the one where he says, love your enemies, turn the other cheek, lend, don't expect to be repaid, don't judge and you won't be judged, all that other stuff. Forgive and you'll be forgiven, yada, yada, yada. Don't judge. Yeah. So, and then there's a line here. This is where the song of the week came from. Give, generously, and you will get a good measure, packed together, shaken down, and overflowing. Basically, what you put out, right? You sow, you reap. And there's a story in the book about that. It has something to do with a shirt. Um, anyway, yeah. So I looked that up. I did a little research. So I guess Jesus was telling people stories that they could understand. For the society at the time, the people were, he's like a wheat merchant, right? When you get a what's something? Well, in this case, it was a wheat merchant. So if he would, somebody would ask for a scoop, he would pack it down, right? Um, and so you could cram more in there. So you're actually getting a full cup. And you know how when you buy something like a box of cereal, right, or some chips, you know how you get the damn bag home and it's half air and half chips, or it's half air and cereal, and you're like, oh, sold by weight, not volume. Well, okay. So this is what's happened, right, over the years. If you were to get a full box, they would have to give you more, right? But then the companies, they want to charge you more and give you less. Just saying. Yeah, that's right. So stingy, right? But this guy, he's not stingy. He's packing it in. So and so I thought, oh, shaken down, shake down. Bob Seger for Beverly Hills Cop 2. Okay? All right, now this is a great song. This is a song you turn up in the car. Right? Um, it's about, payback, generosity. Right? So, shakedown means to get money from people, shaking them down, to get them by force, right? It's also what you do to somebody when you catch them and you're the police or whoever. You shake them down, right? So you can shake them down and all the stuff falls out. You rattle them, right? Shake them down. So it's kind of like, um, yeah, 1987, Beverly Hills Cop 2. Oh, we had the best movie soundtracks in the 80s, man. Gen Xers. Yeah, Beverly Hills Cop 2 soundtrack. Um, Music was written by Harold, released May 4th, 1987, along with same time as the movie, the same year as the movie. Um, Music was written by a Harold Faltermeyer, who also wrote the film score, and the lyrics by Bob Seger. Now, Bob Seger was friends with Glenn Frey, who sang the first Beverly Hills Cop song, right? So he offered it to him to sing in the movie, because Seeger wrote the lyrics, and Glenn Frey said he didn't care for the lyrics, and then after he said that, he came down with laryngitis. Can't make this stuff up. Talk about payback. So Bob Seger sang it, and it went number one in the Billboard top 100, his only Cashbox top 100 single. And so Glenn Frey, after he went number one, he's like, damn, kind of thing. But he congratulated him, and he said, hey, at least we kept it in Michigan. So there's that. Um, he was nominated for an Academy Award and a Golden Globe, lost to Dirty Dancing soundtrack, The Time of My Life song, which that was the last song they played at our wedding reception. Anyway, that was a good song. That's tough competition, but At least it was nominated. So there's that. Um, yeah, so some of the lyrics to that song, man, I thought it was everybody break down, shake down, you're busted. No, basically you can't hide. You can't hide. You can try, but you're going to get it in the end, right? Just let down your guard and you're busted, right? Just like Saul, right? He let down his guard. Yeah. So it all ends the same in a room with no view downtown. Um, I used to think it said everybody walks into the crowded life. It's everyone wants into the crowded line, which is interesting. Make of it what you will. That's the way my ears heard it. Because, see, back then, kids, if you didn't buy the album or the cassette, at that point, you just heard it on the radio or you heard it on the, in the movies. You didn't, the sound quality was such, you would hear it and you'd hear it differently. So now in our 50s, I know we go on about this stuff, but it's really cool to hear the song in a different way, after you've had some life experience. And you go, how did I ever think that's what it said? But, your hearing change, like the way you hear things changes just as you change, as you go through life. It's not a bad thing. It teaches you something a little bit about yourself. What kind of kid you were, I was, let's see, when this came out, it was 2 weeks before my college graduation. I was 21 when this came out. I think I saw the movie. I don't remember. I think the first movie was kind of better, but the whole series you can't go wrong with Eddie Murphy. Those action movies were great. He was great. He is great. Yeah, so yeah, I'm a fan, definitely. And, as a girl, I wasn't admittedly as much into action movies. I would watch them and I'd go see them, friends and whatever. Um, not my favorite genre of movie, being a chick, being more into rom-coms and comedies. Comedies. Although this is somewhat of a comedy. It's kind of a comedy with Eddie Murphy. So that's why I think I liked it. And good soundtrack. If it had comedy and a good soundtrack, I was there. So, despite being skeptical of, you know, sequels as a rule, but this was a good one, I think. Still worth watching. Um, yeah, so Shakedown. Very interesting comparing 80s action movies to the Gospel of Luke, but there you have it, folks. Only on Zazoo Plazz will you get these insights. And yeah. So I gotta go get some. I gotta go get some St. Patty's decorations now that February is just about over. There's a new moon this week. Uh, Pisces new moon. Yeah, Pisces. So time to write out my new moon check and start getting ready for the new month and all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, no show and tell today. So go have my snack. What do I have tonight for dinner? I have mac and cheese. Oh, I made a meatloaf this week. I have mac and cheese and leftover harvest stew. I could choose from that for my leftovers. But it's all good. So, shaking down my table here. So that's it for me for this week from the Zazoo Plazz report, the headquarters. Uh, yeah, go have a shake down in your kitchen. Um, it's all good. Take care, and I will see you next week. Same place, different time. See ya.